Ladies and gentlemen, quiet please. We're on the air in 3, 2, 1. Are you safe from BO on all 13 areas of your skin?
La 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 la, we're happy and we're singing the Lifebuoy song.
Get Lifebuoy clean on all 13.
Be Lifebuoy clean on all 13. We're happy and we're singing the Lifebuoy song.
Remember, you can get BO on not just one, but 13 skin areas. The cleaner you get these 13 skin areas, the safer you are. Lifebuoy Health Soap deodorizes all these 13 skin areas. Stops BO before it begins. Stops BO up to 48 hours. Doctors have proven that Lifebuoy, with its purifying ingredients, actually gets skin cleaner than any other leading soap. So don't trust ordinary soaps to stop BO. Use Lifebuoy every day.
Be Lifebuoy clean on all 13. We're happy and we're singing the Lifebuoy song. For soft water shampooing, use Tony Cream Shampoo.
Even in the hottest water,
Tony Cream Shampoo.
Yes, even in the hardest water, Tony Cream Shampoo gives soft water shampooing that rinses away dandruff instantly. Leaves hair so soft, so smooth, so shining clean. Today, bring out the sparkling beauty of your hair with soft water shampooing. Get the handy tube or jar of Tony Cream Shampoo. It's new.
For soft water shampooing, use Tony Cream Shampoo.
even in the hottest water,
Tony Cream Shampoo.
And I call her the voice. Jenny Lee Voice, once again.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Everyone dancing merrily and every couple tries to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree, let the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. Yeah, we're rockin', rockin', rockin'. Ooh, you will rock with me around the Christmas tree. Ooh, come on now, rockin' around the Christmas tree. Oh, you will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, rocking around the Christmas tree. Have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in a new old-fashioned way.
All right, Jenny Lee Voice. Boulevard Watch time is 4:20. Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Flakes, bring you the Lux Radio Theater at Miracle on 34th Street. It's Thanksgiving Day in New York City. On Fifth Avenue adjoining Central Park, an annual event is being joyfully awaited. The spectacular parade presented by Macy's Department Store to herald in the Christmas season. Away from the crowd are two of Macy's public relations experts.
He's simply wonderful, Mrs. Walker. Why, just look at him on that float. The most realistic Santa Claus we've ever had. Why, he didn't even need any padding, did he?
Padding?
Why, didn't you notice his tummy? So firm and so round, so fully packed. Well, now, that's everything under control. Where on earth did you find him?
I don't know. I just turned around and there he was.
And to think that the man whose place he took was intoxicated.
With a breath that would turn down a reindeer.
Oh, just think if Mr. Macy had seen him.
What if Mr. Gimble had seen him? Competition between our stores is tough enough.
Well, the parade's starting. Let's stand at the curb.
Oh, not I, Mr. Shellhammer. I'm going home to relax. Anyway, I can see it from there. I live just around the corner.
Oh, so you do. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Mrs. Walker. And congratulations on finding the best Santa Claus in Macy's history.
Certainly is a wonderful parade, Susan. Just look at that clown. Gosh, what a giant.
Giant, Mr. Gailey? There's no such thing as giants.
Well, not now, maybe, but in olden days there.
Really, Mr. Gailey? You're a lawyer.
Well, what about the giant that Jack killed? You know, Jack and the Beanstalk?
Everybody knows that's a fairy tale, and I agree with my mother. Fairy tales are silly.
Come in.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm Susan's mother. My maid said that...
Oh, hello, Mother. I'm watching the parade. Mr. Gailey invited me.
Hello, darling.
Susie's told me quite a lot about you, Mrs. Walker.
She's told me quite a lot about you, too. The man in the front apartment.
Well, this is all part of a plot, Mrs. Walker. I'm very fond of Susie, but I also wanted to meet you.
Well, at least you're frank.
There goes Santa Claus.
Oh, don't even mention the name.
Why not, Mother?
Well, that Santa Claus you see is a last-minute substitute.
But why?
Oh, remember the way the janitor was last New Year's?
Oh my, tight as an owl.
I see Susan doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
That's right, she never has.
Well, that's the end of the parade. Mother, I've been thinking. It's Thanksgiving, and there's only two of us. Couldn't we invite Mr. Gailey?
Well,
Please, don't bother. I'll just have a sandwich or something.
We have such a big turkey. Please, Mother, please.
Well,
Did I ask her all right, Mr. Gailey?
Susie, shh.
You asked me fine, Susan. Dinner's at 3, Mr. Gailey.
Hello, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, Mr. Shellhammer.
Your maid said you were at Thanksgiving dinner, but I just had to tell you, your Santa Claus was stupendous.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Macy himself wants him at our new toy department as Santa Claus.
Oh, fine. Can you hire him?
Oh, I already have. Oh, he's a born salesman. I just feel it.
Good. We'll talk about it in the morning. Thanks for calling, Mr. Shellhammer.
Here he is, Mr. Shellhammer. Here's Santa Claus.
Oh, thank you, Alfred. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Santa Claus.
Good morning.
Now, before you go to the toy department, here's a list of the toys I want you to push.
Oh?
You know, things we're overstocked on. You'll find that a great many children will be undecided as to what they want for Christmas. And when that happens, you immediately suggest one of these items. Do you understand?
I certainly do.
Fine, that's fine. Now, take the list and Alfred here will show you to your throne in the toy department. And don't forget, you're working for Macy's, Santa.
Are you really Santa Claus?
Why, of course I am. What do you want for Christmas, little boy?
I want a fire engine with a real hose that squirts real wet water. And I won't do it in the house. I'll only do it in the backyard. I promise.
And I promise you'll get your fire engine.
See, Mama? I told you he'd get me one.
That's fine. That's just dandy. You wait here, Mortimer. Mama wants to thank Santa Claus, too.
Yes, madam.
Say, what's the matter with you?
Now, what's the trouble?
I told you before, didn't I? The kid wants a fire engine, but there ain't one to be had anywhere in town. Macy's ain't got any, Gimbel's ain't got any, nobody's got any. My feet are killing me and you say, okay, he gets the fire engine?
But you can get those fire engines at Schoenfeld's, Lexington Avenue, only $4.50. A wonderful bargain.
Schoenfeld's?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Oh, I follow the toy market very closely.
Macy's? Sending people to other stores?
Yes.
Are you kidding?
No. The one important thing is to make the children happy. Whether Macy's or somebody else sells the toy doesn't matter. Don't you feel that way?
Who, me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure. Only I didn't know Macy did. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Who's next, please? Right this way to see Santa Claus. All right, little girl, you're next.
Of course, little girl. You want some roller skates? Well, you shall have them, too.
Mama, he's gonna bring me some roller skates.
And he has some fine skates here at Macy's, haven't you, Santa Claus?
Oh, they're good skates, all right, but not quite good enough. Now, I left some really wonderful roller skates at Gimbel's. I'm sure Gimbel's has just what this good little girl wants. Very good.
Mr. Shellhammer? Are you Mr. Shellhammer?
Gimbel's? Gimbel's? That's just what he did say, Gimbel's?
The sales lady said I should speak to you.
Gimbel's?
I just wanted to congratulate you and Macy's on this wonderful new stunt you're pulling.
Gimbel's?
Imagine a big outfit like Macy's putting the spirit of Christmas ahead of the commercial.
Gimbel's?
From now on, I'm going to be a regular Macy customer. All right, Mortimer, we're going.
Gimbel's?
And there's a toy department over there, Mr. Gailey.
You certainly know all about Macy's store, don't you, Susan?
Well, that's because my mother works here. But I still think it's silly bringing me here to see Santa Claus.
Well, I just feel that when you've talked to him, you just might...
Okay, Mr. Gailey, I'm certainly willing to try.
Well, what a fine young lady. What's your name, little girl?
Susan Walker, what's yours?
Mine? Chris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you don't believe that, eh?
You see, my mother's Mrs. Walker. But I must say, you're the best looking Santa Claus I ever seen.
Really?
Your beard, for instance, does it have one of those things that goes over your ears?
That's because it's real. Just like I'm really Santa Claus. Now, go ahead, pull it.
Oh my goodness, it is real.
Yes. Now, what would you like me to bring you for Christmas?
Nothing, thank you. Whatever I want, my mother will get. If it is sensible, it doesn't cost too much.
Oh?
That's quite right, Susan.
Oh, hello, Mother.
Hello, Mr. Gailey.
Hello? The explanation for this is very simple. Your maid's mother sprained her ankle. She had to go home, so she asked me to bring Susie down to you. And as long as we were here, I figured we might as well say hello to Santa Claus.
He has real whiskers, Mother.
Susan, would you mind standing over there a minute?
If you want me to.
I shouldn't have brought Susie to see Santa. Is that it?
Now you're making me feel completely heartless.
I'm sorry.
Don't you see? I tell Susan that Santa Claus is a myth, and you show her a very convincing old man with real whiskers. Whom is she to believe?
Yeah, that's right, isn't it?
When Susan was a baby, her father and I were divorced. And ever since then, I've protected my child by teaching her realities. If you don't believe in fairy tales and fantasy, you can never be hurt or disillusioned.
We were talking about Susie, Mrs. Walker.
And I must ask you to let me raise her as I see fit. All right, dear. The store's going to close soon. We'll run along to my office.
Alfred said you wanted to see me, Mrs. Walker.
Yes, come in. I'd be grateful if you'll please tell Susan that you're not really Santa Claus, that there actually is no such person.
Oh, but Mrs. Walker, not only is there such a person, but here I am to prove it.
No. You misunderstand. I want you to tell her the truth. Now, what's your real name?
Kris Kringle. And I always tell the truth. Susan, I'll bet you're in the 1st grade.
2nd grade.
I mean your real name.
Well, that is my real name. My goodness, 2nd grade?
Very well. I have your employment card right here. I'll look it up on that.
That's a very cute dress you have on, Susan.
It's from Macy's. We got it 10% off.
Oh.
So, you always tell the truth, do you? Mm-hmm. Look at your employment card.
Name, Kris Kringle. Address, Brooks Memorial Home, Great Neck, Long Island. You may call the home if you care to confirm that, Mrs. Walker. It's a home for elderly gentlemen.
Would you also like me to confirm this?
What's that?
Date of birth. As old as my tongue and a little bit older than my teeth? Place of birth. North Pole. Now really.
Why, I believe you doubt me, Mrs. Walker.
And this tops everything. Next of kin.
Oh, that.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen? I'm sorry to have to do this, Mr.
Kringle.
But the Santa Claus we had 2 years ago is back in town, and I feel that we owe it to him to,
Have I done something wrong?
No, it's just that we feel... excuse me. Hello?
This is Mr. Shellhammer, Mrs. Walker. Drop whatever you're doing. Mr. Macy wants to see us immediately.
Oh, I'll be right up. I'm afraid I'll have to be very abrupt with you. I have to see Mr. Macy. You'll be paid for the full week, Mr. Kringle, and I'll send your check to that address.
Come right in, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Shellhammer.
Thank you, Mr. Macy.
Now, about this new policy you two initiated.
No.
Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbel's.
But I can explain everything, Mr. Macy.
You don't have to explain a thing. Just look at my desk. 42 telegrams and over 500 phone calls. Grateful parents expressing undying gratitude to Macy's department store.
Why, you don't say.
And from now on, not only will our Santa Claus continue in this manner, but every salesperson in the entire store.
You mean that if we haven't got what the customer asked for, we're to
send them to where they can get it. No high pressuring and forcing a customer to take something he doesn't really want.
I think that's wonderful, Mr. Macy.
Why, we'll be known as the helpful store, the friendly store, the store that places public service ahead of profits. And consequently, we'll make more profits than ever. Hey, and as for you, Mrs. Walker, Mr. Shellhammer, you'll find a more practical expression of my gratitude in your Christmas envelopes.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
And tell that wonderful Santa Claus I won't forget him either. Matter of fact, I'll tell him myself in the morning.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Macy.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Macy.
And thank you again, sir. Oh, imagine a bonus?
Yes.
Well, what's the matter with you?
Mr. Shellhammer, I just fired him.
Who?
Santa Claus.
Oh, no, you couldn't have.
But I did. He's crazy, Mr. Shellhammer. He really thinks he's Santa Claus.
Well, I don't care if he thinks he's the Easter Bunny. Find him!
It was a frantic few hours that Doris spent last night, rushing out to the Brooks Memorial Home on Long Island and assuring Kris Kringle that Macy's wanted him back as Santa. And now Kris is again presiding over the crowded toy department, while in her office, Doris and Mr. Shellhammer.
Don't you understand, Mr. Shellhammer? That old man with the nice white whiskers insists that he is Santa Claus. Why, he's out of his mind. What if he should have a fit or something? Oh, no, I've got to tell Mr. Macy.
Yes, but maybe he's only a little crazy. Anyway, you can't be sure until he's examined. We'll send him to Mr. Sawyer.
Sawyer?
In personnel. He's paid to examine employees, isn't he? And now, by the way, what do you think of this?
Oh, what is it?
A full-page ad Macy's is running in tomorrow's newspapers.
Macy's is running it, but it's all about the other stores, Gimbel's and Saks Fifth Avenue.
I know. It's Mr. Macy's idea to help our customers find what they want. It's revolting, isn't it?
That Santa Claus certainly has started something. Oh, well, I'll get a hold of him at his lunch hour and send him up to Mr. Sawyer.
So I changed my clothes, Mr. Sawyer, and came right up.
Oh, well, then that's your own beard, huh?
Oh, yes.
Interesting complex in the back of that. Why do you carry a cane?
Always carry a cane, Mr. Sawyer. Well, whenever I wear street clothes. I carved this cane out of a runner from one of my old sleighs.
What's that? What's that?
With a fine, solid silver top.
Who was the first president of the United States?
What? Oh, give me a difficult one, like who was vice president under James Monroe?
I'm conducting this examination.
The answer is Donald D. Tompkins. Yes, you're a rather nervous man, aren't you, Mr. Sawyer? Tell me, do you get enough sleep?
My personal habits are no concern of yours. Now, what hand am I holding up?
Right hand.
How many fingers do you see?
3. Dear, oh dear, you bite your nails too.
Stand up now. Feet together. Arms extended.
Muscular coordination test. I've taken dozens of these tests. Mr. Sawyer, are you happy at home?
What? That will be all, Mr. Kringle. The examination is over.
Well, thank you.
And it may interest you to know that I've been happily married for 22 years. Very happily married.
Delighted to hear it, Mr. Sawyer. Goodbye.
Miss Prong?
Yes, sir?
Get Mrs. Walker on the phone?
Yes, sir. But your wife, Mr. Sawyer, she's called 4 times already.
Well, you tell my big fat wife to shut up and mind her own business.
Here's Mrs. Walker, sir.
Oh, all right. Hello?
Oh, I was just going to call you, Mr. Sawyer.
Oh?
There's a Dr. Pierce stopping by this afternoon at 3.
Who's Dr. Pierce?
He's the physician at the Brooks home. I thought we might discuss Mr. Kringle's case with him.
Well, there's hardly any point in discussing it, Mrs. Walker. Obviously, the old man should be discharged. So, Dr. Pierce, Kringle should be dismissed immediately and sent to a mental institution.
Oh, now, just a minute, Mr. Sawyer.
He's deluded. Saying that he's Santa Claus?
Well, it's a delusion for good. I found he only wants to be friendly and helpful.
His whole manner suggests aggressiveness. Look at the way he carries that cane. Mrs. Walker, naturally I can't discharge that loony, so when he exhibits his maniacal tendencies, please realize the responsibility is completely yours.
Well, I'm right back where I started.
Mrs. Walker, I assure you Mr. Kringle has no maniacal tendencies.
But if there's the slightest possibility of his causing any trouble...
What trouble?
All that needs happen is a policeman asks his name. Kris Kringle, clang, clang, and Macy's Santa Claus ends up in the psychopathic ward.
Well, you can prevent that very simply. Now, there must be someone here at the store who could rent him a room. Then they could both come to work together. And I just as soon he avoided that long train ride to Long Island anyway.
You mean sort of take custody of him?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Mr. Kringle would agree to that?
Oh, I'm sure he'll agree.
Well, in that case, now let me see. Who do I know who could rent him a room?
I'm glad you're going to have dinner with us, Mr. Kringle.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
I'm also glad you're going to live right next door with Mr. Gailey.
Oh, why?
Because you're nice to talk to.
Oh, I say, what a fine young man that Mr. Gailey is, eh? Just think, allowing me to share his apartment. A mere stranger.
He did it because Mother hinted him to.
Oh, well, anyway, I'm very grateful.
Shall I tell you what I did in school today?
Oh, by all means. Any games?
Yes, and a very silly game, too.
Oh?
They played zoo, and each child was supposed to be an animal.
Oh, but Susan, they're just pretending.
That would make the game so silly.
Oh, well, of course, in order to play games, you need to have imagination.
Oh, that's when you see things but aren't really there, huh?
Well, yes, but, you know, to me, imagination is a place all by itself. Now, you've heard of the French nation and the British nation.
Yes.
Well, this is the imagination. A very interesting place, too. Now, would you like to be able to make snowballs in the summertime, eh?
What?
Or be the Statue of Liberty in the morning and in the afternoon fly south with a flock of geese?
Well, I'm quite sure I like that, but...
Oh, it's very simple, really. Well, anyway, look here. The next time they play zoo, you could be a monkey.
I don't know how to be a monkey, though.
Don't you? Well, I'll show you. Now, first you bend over a little bit like this, see? Now let your arms hang loose, see?
Like this?
Yes, that's fine. Fine. Now, put your hand over here and start scratching. See? That's it. That's it. That's excellent, Susan. That's a fine bit of scratching as I've ever seen. Yeah. Now you start chattering.
Chattering?
Yes. Now listen. See? And keep scratching. Now then, look here. We'll do it together. See? Chatter and scratch and chatter. See? That's fine, Susan. Fine. You're doing beautifully. Beautifully. Yes. Susan, are you still awake? Oh, I'm just coming to say goodnight, Susan, and that's all. Now, look here, about Christmas. There must be something you'd like for Christmas.
Well, I've certainly thought of something, Mr. Kringle.
You have? Well, what is it, eh? Tell me.
It's right here on the night table,
Oh?
see? I tore this page out of a magazine. It's a picture of a house.
Oh, that's what you want, is it? A dollhouse, colonial architecture.
Oh, not a dollhouse, a real house.
A real house?
Yes, and if you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me.
Now, wait a minute, Susie. What could you possibly do with a big house?
Live in it with my mother in a backyard with a big tree to put a swing on in a garden and a... Oh, well, why even discuss it?
Susie, could I keep this picture? Just in case.
I guess so.
Thank you, dear, thank you. Well, Mr. Gailey's waiting for me. Good night, monkey.
Good night, Mr. Kringle.
Take whichever bed you want, Mr. Kringle.
You're very kind, really. Tell me, Mr. Gailey, just what is it you do for a living?
Oh, I'm a lawyer. Haslip, Sherman, and Mackenzie.
Oh, and you like living here in the city?
Well, it's convenient, but someday I'd like to get a place on Long Island.
Huh.
Not a big house, just like one of those junior partner deals around Manhasset.
Oh, one of those little colonial houses, eh?
Yeah, a little colonial house would be swell.
Good. Yes, you're quite fond of Mrs. Walker, aren't you?
A lot of good it does me. She lives in a cast iron shell that's just a little difficult to penetrate.
Oh, well, you must try a little harder, Mr. Gailey. You know, Mrs. Walker and that child are a couple of lost souls, and it's up to us to help them.
Oh?
Yes, she, well, shall I turn out the light?
No.
No?
I'm not going to be cheated out of this. You know, all my life, I've wondered what would it be to see if, does Santa sleep with his whiskers on the inside or the out?
Outside, of course, outside, by all means. The cold air makes them grow.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, come in, Mrs. Walker, come in.
Thank you, Mr. Macy. I've just heard something very exciting.
You have? Well, let me tell you something very exciting. Our policy of being kind to customers has tripled our sales. Now, what do you think of that?
That's wonderful, Mr. Macy. And Gimbals thinks it's wonderful, too.
Gimbals?
Gimbals are adopting the same policy.
Well, is that so?
And it gives me an idea. As long as Gimbals are doing the same thing, why not some pictures for the newspapers?
Pictures?
Yes, you and Mr. Gimbal, shaking hands.
Shaking hands? R.H. Macy and Gimbal?
Well, yes.
Yes, why not? With Santa Claus. It's a great idea, Mrs. Walker. Macy and Gimbal, shaking hands. Oh, that's enough pictures, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Gimbal?
Come on, R.H. Now we'll go over to my store and get some really good pictures.
Oh, just a minute. I have something here for Santa Claus. Here you are, Mr. Kringle. A check in appreciation of all you've done.
Mr. Macy, why, that's most kind of you.
I didn't think you were that generous, R.H. That's quite a check. What are you going to do with it, Mr. Kringle?
Well, I have a friend, Dr. Pierce. He needs a new X-ray machine.
How did the pictures turn out, Mr. Kringle?
Oh, fine, Alfred, fine. How about a game of checkers before lunch?
Oh, no, not today, Chris. I don't feel so good.
Oh, what's the matter, Alfred?
Oh, nothing much. You remember I was telling you how I like to play Santa Claus over at the Y and give out packages to the kids?
Yes.
Well, I was telling Mr. Sawyer about it, and he says, that's very bad. That psychologically it's all wrong.
Wrong? To be nice to children?
Well, he says guys who play Santa Claus do it because when they was young, they must have done something bad, and now they do something they think is good to make up for it, see? It's what he calls a guilt complex.
Alfred, what else has he found wrong with you?
Oh, nothing much, just that I hate my father. I didn't know it, but he says I do.
Excuse me?
Hey, ain't you going to have lunch?
Later. Right now, I have an appointment with Mr. Sawyer.
What do you mean breaking into my office like this?
Are you a licensed psychiatrist?
What business is it of yours?
I have great respect for psychiatry and great contempt for middling amateurs who go around practicing it.
Oh, shut up.
You ought to be horsewhipped. Taking a boy like Alfred and filling him up with complexes and phobias.
I think I'm better equipped to judge that than you.
Just because Alfred wants to be kind to children, you tell him he has a guilt complex?
Having the same delusion you couldn't possibly understand. And don't you wave that cane at me.
Either you stop analyzing Alfred, or I'll go straight to Mr. Macy and tell him what a contemptible fraud you are.
Oh, get out of here. Get out of here before I have you thrown out.
There's only one way to handle a man like you. Maybe this will knock some sense into you.
Oh! help! Oh, my head!
Good
my head!
day, Mr. Sawyer.
Miss Prong, get me the police! Get me Mrs. Walker! Get me the psychopathic ward in Bellevue Hospital!
You can see Mr. Kringle now, Mr. Gailey.
Thank you, nurse. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Fred.
Chris, I've been speaking to the doctors. They said they've given you some tests,
Yes, same old tests.
except this time you failed to pass them. Chris, you deliberately failed. Why?
Why? Because I had great hopes, Fred. I had a feeling Mrs. Walker was beginning to believe in me, and now I discover she was only humoring me all the time.
But this wasn't Doris's idea at all. Mr. Sawyer had you sent up here before she even knew about it.
But why? Why didn't she come and explain things?
Because she didn't want to hurt you.
Oh, well, it's not just Mrs. Walker. Now take Mr. Sawyer. He's contemptible, dishonest, deceitful. Yet, he's out there, and I'm in here. If that's normal, I don't want it.
But you can't just think of yourself, Chris. What happens to you matters to a lot of other people, too. People like me who believe in what you stand for, and people like Susie, who are just beginning to. Chris, you're letting us down.
Well, Fred, maybe you're right. Of course you're right. I ought to be ashamed of myself. Let's get out of here.
Now, wait a minute. You flunked your medical examination, but good.
Oh, yes. So I did. Well, anyway, you're a lawyer. Fix it.
Hey, look, I can't just...
Now, I won't let you down, and you won't let me down.
Chris, now take it easy. Look, there'll have to be a hearing. You're going to be committed. It has to be before a judge.
Well,
if I can do anything at all, I'll have to do it in a courtroom. Now sit tight, Chris. I'll get an idea. I have to get an idea.
You, sent for me, Mr. Macy?
I certainly did, Mr. Sawyer. I brought my family to the toy department to see our Santa Claus, and our Santa Claus isn't there. He's in Bellevue.
Yes, Mr. Macy.
Because he's a lunatic.
Yes, sir, a lunatic.
Lunatic, my foot. Now, you listen to me, Sawyer. You get that case dropped right away, or you'll have another lump to match the one he gave you.
But it's out of my hands. Mr. Kringle goes to court in the morning.
Well, just see that he's back in the toy department by afternoon. Now, get out of here.
Oh, Mr. Gailey! Mr. Gailey!
Yes?
I've been looking all over for you. I'm Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, so you're Sawyer.
Yes, I was just speaking to the court clerk, and he said you represent Mr. Kringle. Well, I represent Mr. Macy.
Oh, then I'll see you in court.
Oh, no. That's what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, Mr. Macy would like to drop the whole case right now. You see, we're most anxious to avoid any publicity.
No publicity, huh? Well, that's very interesting.
Oh, then you'll cooperate?
You know something, Sawyer? You just given me the idea I've been searching for.
Oh, good, good.
If I'm going to win this case, I'm going to have public opinion and plenty of it. And publicity's just the way to do it. Thanks. And so long, Mr. Sawyer.
Mr. Gailey, but Mr. Gailey!
Look at these newspapers, Chris. Here, Evening Dispatch. Doctors doubt sanity of Santa who launched Goodwill campaign.
Oh, my.
Daily Bulletin. Macy's Santa Claus to have lunacy hearing.
Ma, what's this one?
The New York Express.
Is Kris Kringle crazy? Court case coming. Kitties cry calamity.
You've driven the United Nations clear back to page 5. Well, get a good night's sleep, Chris. We go before the Judge Harbor at 10 tomorrow morning.
We pause now for station identification. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Before our actors return to their story, Faith wants to tell you about a wonderful way to decorate your Christmas tree using Lux laundry flakes.
Thank you, Ralph. You can give your tree that fresh from the woods look by covering it with real-looking snow you make yourself. From a box of Lux laundry flakes, just follow these simple steps. Take a large box of Lux flakes, gradually add 2 cups of lukewarm water, and beat with an egg beater until it has the consistency of thick whipped cream. Then, with your fingers, spread the mixture over the branches of your tree. And that's all.
This snowy covering dries quickly. It won't melt, and it lasts as long as the tree. Ask your dealer for a copy of this Christmas snow recipe.
I don't know of any other decoration that costs so little, yet does so much for your tree. It looks lovely used just with tree lights, or you can add your usual ornaments if you prefer.
Try it on your mantle decorations and table arrangements too. It gives them a very professional look.
And it makes the whole house look more Christmassy. Now I'll repeat that recipe. Take a large box of Lux Flakes, gradually add about 2 cups of lukewarm water, and beat with an egg beater. While moist, spread the mixture along the branches. If you want extra glitter, shake on some shiny artificial snow before the mixture dries. Let the children help. They'll love doing it and love the snowy tree.
And now back to our radio play. For a few weeks, a jolly elderly gentleman named Kris Kringle has been working minor miracles as Macy's Santa Claus, and now his sanity has been seriously questioned. And in a crowded courtroom, Judge Harper listens patiently as the assistant district attorney summons Kris to the witness stand.
Now, this is not a trial, Mr. Kringle. It's just a hearing, so you don't have to answer any questions. Now then, where do you live, please?
Well, it seems to me that that's what this hearing will decide, won't it?
Mr. Kringle, do you believe that you are Santa Claus?
Of course I do.
That's all, Your Honor. The state rests its case.
Well, Mr. Gailey?
Your Honor, Mr. Marr contends my client is not sane because he believes he is Santa Claus.
An entirely logical conclusion. Anyone who thinks he's Santa Claus is crazy.
Your Honor, you believe yourself to be Judge Harper, yet no one questions your sanity because you are Judge Harper, do they?
Mr. Kringle, it's the subject of this sanity hearing, not I.
Well, Your Honor, I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Mr. Morrow, I thought this was a cut and dried sanity hearing.
Well, I thought it was, Your Honor.
In view of Mr. Gailey's statement, I'll have to review the entire background of this case. Court's adjourned to tomorrow morning.
Hello, Doris. I'm sorry I'm a bit late, but get ready. We're really going to celebrate tonight.
What are we celebrating?
Well, didn't you read the newspapers? Santa's mouthpiece throws bombshell in New York Supreme Court.
Oh, Fred, you're not really serious about this. You can't possibly prove that Kris Kringle is Santa Claus.
Well, you saw Mr. Macy and Mr. Gimble shake hands. That wasn't possible either.
What does your firm have to say about it? Haslip and McKenzie and the rest of them.
That I've jeopardized their prestige, and either I drop this impossible case or they'll drop me.
You see?
So I'll beat them to it. I quit.
Fred, you threw away a career because of a sentimental whim?
Well, I'll open my own office.
And what kind of clients will you get?
Oh, probably a lot of people like Kris who are being pushed around. That's the only fun in law anyway. Doris, look, don't you have any faith in me at all?
Oh, it's not a question of faith. It's just common sense.
But faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to. It's not just Chris that's on trial, it's everything he stands for. Human kindness and love and dignity.
Oh, Fred, listen. We've seen a lot of each other the last couple of weeks, and I've become fond of you. We've talked about some wonderful plans, haven't we? And then you go and do this. Go on an idealistic binge, throw away your security, and expect me to be happy about it.
And I expect too much? Is that it? Well, that's that. I guess. Good night, Doris.
Proceed with the witness, Mr. Gailey.
Now then, Mr. Macy, if you recognize the defendant, please tell us who he is.
Why, Chris Kringle, of course.
Do you believe him to be of sound mind?
Sound mind? I wish I had a dozen like him.
Mr. Macy, you are under oath. Do you believe that man is Santa Claus?
Well, now that's a rather delicate...
Is that man Santa Claus?
Yes, in my opinion, he most certainly is.
Your Honor, there's no such person as Santa Claus. Everybody knows it.
Can you prove there isn't any?
I won't even try. I'll not waste the court's time with such childish nonsense. Your Honor, the prosecution requests an immediate ruling from this court. Is there or is there not a Santa Claus?
Well, now, the court will take a short recess to consider the question.
Hello, Henry.
Why, Charlie, what are you doing here?
Can an old friend visit you in your chambers? And if you ask me, you never needed a friend like you do now.
Oh, the Kringle case. Oh, I certainly don't see what they're making such a fuss about.
Henry, that's Santa Claus you've got out there. On trial for lunacy. This case is dynamite, and you're coming up for re-election soon.
Oh, Charlie, do you know what happened last night? Martha brought my grandchildren over. They wouldn't kiss Grandpa. They wouldn't even talk to me.
You see what I mean? If you rule there's no Santa Claus, you'd better start looking for that chicken farm right now.
I'm a responsible judge. How can I seriously rule that there is a Santa Claus?
Because of what happens if you don't. The kids read about it and they don't hang up their stockings. Now what happens to all the toys that are supposed to be in those stockings? Nobody buys them. The toy manufacturers have to lay off employees, but now you've got the AFL and the CIO against you. Yeah, and they're going to say it with votes, see? Oh, and the department stores are going to love you too. Yes, sir, Henry. And what about the Salvation Army? They got a Santa Claus in every street corner. They've taken a lot of money to help the poor. But go ahead, Henry. You go in there and rule that there's no Santa Claus. But if you do, you can count on getting just 2 votes. Your own and that district attorney out there.
1 vote, Charlie. He's a Republican. Oh, well. Let's get this over with. The question of Santa Claus seems to be largely a matter of opinion. The tradition of American justice demands a broad and unprejudiced view of such a controversial matter.
But, Your Honor,
this court, therefore, instead to keep its mind open, we shall ask for evidence on either side.
But the burden of proof clearly rests with my opponent. Can he produce any evidence to support his views?
If Your Honor, please. Will Thomas Mara please take the stand?
Who, me?
No, Thomas Mara Jr. I believe he and his mother are both in court today.
Hi, Papa.
Hi.
Tommy, do you believe in Santa Claus?
I sure do. Gosh, he gave me a brand new sled last year.
Now, what does Santa Claus look like, Tommy?
Well, there he is, sitting right over there.
Your Honor, I protest.
Overruled.
Tell me, Tommy, why are you so sure there is a Santa Claus?
Because my papa told me so. Didn't you, Pop?
Thank you, Tommy. You can go back to your mother now.
See you later, Papa.
You certainly will. Your Honor.
Don't forget, Santa Claus. This year, I want a football helmet.
Don't worry, Tommy. You'll get it.
Mr. Kringle, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, sir.
Your Honor, the state of New York concedes the existence of Santa Claus, but in so conceding, we demand that Mr. Gailey stop presenting personal opinion as evidence. I insist he submit authority to prove that Mr. Kringle here is the one and only Santa Claus.
Well, Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus on the basis of unprejudiced authority?
Well, sir, no. Not now. I need a little time.
Why not now?
Tomorrow, Your Honor?
Very well. Court's adjourned till tomorrow morning. Whew, oh, brother.
Well, what do you know, Louie? Another letter from Santa Claus. Hey, here's a new one. Instead of the North Pole, this kid's got it addressed to Kris Kringle, New York County Courthouse.
Well, the kid's right.
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure. They got him on trial down there. He claims Santa Claus, and the DA claims he's nuts. Hey, I got an idea.
Yeah?
How many Santa Claus letters we got down there in the dead letter office?
Oh, who knows? Must be 50,000 bags and bags all over the joint. Hey, you mean?
Well, Louie, why not? Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of them all, wouldn't it? Boy, oh boy. Look, Louie, soon as we get to the post office, we go and see the supervisor. You know something? I bet we both get promoted.
This court is now in session.
Mr. Murrah?
Since the defense has been unable to submit one shred of proof that Kris Kringle is the one and only Santa Claus, and since tonight is Christmas Eve, I ask Your Honor that this hearing be terminated without further delay.
I protest. I do have evidence.
5 minutes ago, you said you didn't.
During Mr. Marr's oration, the bailiff handed me the evidence I referred to.
What evidence?
This letter, Your Honor.
Oh, yes, Mr. Kringle.
It's from Susan Walker. She believes in me. This letter means more to me than anything in the world.
That letter, Your Honor, was delivered by the United States Post Office, an official agency of the federal government. The Post Office Department is one of the largest business concerns in the world. Last year, it did a gross volume of over $1 billion, and this year...
Your Honor, I'm sure we're all gratified that the post office is getting along so well. But what bearing has it on the sanity of that man?
My point is that the Post Office Department is a model of efficiency. Furthermore, the laws of this country make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or intentionally deliver it to the wrong person.
The state of New York is second to none in its admiration of the Post Office Department. We're very happy to concede Mr. Gailey's...
Oh, for the record, Mr. Murrah?
For the record, anything to get on with this case.
Thank you. Your Honor, that letter just received by Mr. Kringle is positive proof that a competent...
One letter is hardly proof.
I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Come, Mr. Gailey. Put them here on my desk.
But, Your Honor...
I said put them on my desk.
All right, boys. Bring them in.
Your Honor, what is this?
Empty those mail sacks on Judge Harper's desk.
Well, but...
Bring them all in or be fined for contempt of court.
No. Just a second here.
I will do it, Your Honor. Through rain, through sleet, through courtrooms, anything, we deliver.
Mr. Gailey.
Your Honor, every one of those letters and every one of those mail sacks is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office delivered them. Therefore, the Post Office Department recognizes Kris Kringle to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Well, since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute. Case dismissed. And for heaven's sake, get this mail out of my courtroom.
Alfred, look. Look who came all the way out here to the home just for our Christmas party.
Chris, it's Mr. Macy.
And Mr. Gimble, too. Oh, excuse me, Alfred. Mrs. Walker and Susan have to leave now, and I want to see them before they go. So forgive me, will you?
But, Susie, darling, you got so many presents.
Not the one I wanted. Not the one Mr. Kringle said he was going to get for me.
Well, what was it?
It doesn't matter. I knew I wouldn't get it, but I thought he'd at least tell me why.
Susie, I'm sorry, Susie. I tried my best, but...
You couldn't get it because you're not Santa Claus.
Susan!
Just a nice old man like Mother said.
But I was wrong when I told you that. You must believe in Mr. Kringle and keep right on doing it. You must have faith in him.
That doesn't make sense, Mother.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
What?
I mean, just because things don't turn out the way you want them the first time, you've still got to believe in people. I found that out.
Hello, Doris.
Fred.
Mr. Gailey, Mr. Gailey.
Merry Christmas, Susie.
Gosh, you get here just when we're ready to leave.
Oh, I've been here.
Oh.
And if you're ready to leave, I'll drive you home.
Before you go, here. Here's a map I've made for you. You'll miss a lot of traffic. About 4 miles south, you'll see Ashley Avenue. Now, that's the street you want. Ashley Avenue.
Thanks, Chris, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Fred, and to you, my dear, and to you, Susan.
I believe, Mr. Kringle. I do. It's silly, I suppose, but I do.
I don't understand it, Fred. The map Chris gave definitely says Ashley Avenue. We've been on Ashley Avenue now for...
Stop the car! Stop the car! Oh, please, stop the car!
Susie, what is it, darling? What's the matter?
There it is! The house!
Susie!
What in the world?
She's running into that house.
Well, at least there's no one home. It's brand new. It's just been built.
Yeah. For sale, it says. For sale.
What on earth is that child up to?
Susie! Hey, Susie!
Here I am upstairs.
Now, come right down. You know you shouldn't run around in other people's houses. That's strange.
I'll say.
No, I mean this house. I've seen this house somewhere. I know I have. Maybe in a magazine or...
Mother, it's our house. It's the one I asked from Mr. Kringle.
Mr. Kringle?
I know it is. Oh, you were right, Mommy. You were right.
Susie!
Mommy, you told me that if things didn't turn out that the way you wanted them at first, you still gotta believe. And I kept believing. And you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
Now where are you going?
In back to see if there's a swing. There is one. Oh, there is one.
You told her that? About believing?
Well, you told me, Fred.
The sign outside, for sale, huh? Well, we can't let her down, can we?
I never really doubted you. It was just my silly common sense.
Even makes sense to believe in me now. I must be a pretty good lawyer. I take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. Now, you know that he couldn't be...
Fred!
What's the matter?
There! In the corner, by the fireplace.
Oh, no!
It can't be. It couldn't.
A cane. Chris's cane. There couldn't be two canes like this anywhere in the world.
Silver handle and all.
Hey, you know something? Maybe I didn't do such a bad thing after all.
Ladies and gentlemen, our GSR actors for Miracle on 34th Street were Matt Madonna as Kris Kringle, Isabella Swain as Susan Walker. Doris Walker was played by Jeannie Calder. Kevin West was Fred Gailey. Bill Alwyn was Mr. Shellhammer. Mr. Macy was played by Terry Turner. Mr. Gimbo was played by Ken Ferguson. Janie Toth was Miss Prong. Nathan Swain played the roles of Sawyer and Charlie. Rod Gibson played Dr. Pierce. Norma Van Heeswick was the nurse and the first mother. Faith McAvoy was the second mother. Mark Herbert was Attorney Mara. Hayden Herbert played Tommy Mara and Little Mortimer. Keith Seaman played the roles of Alfred and the judge. Danica Miller was both the little girl and Louis, the postal worker. And Chris Stewart was the postman. I'm your announcer, Ralph Swain. Ladies and gentlemen, before we meet again, the most joyful day of the year will have come and gone. And there are, in our time, as in every time, a few foolish men who deride the spirit of Christmas. But in every country and in every time, they are overwhelmed by those who find in it the hope and happiness of the future, by those of us who believe in our hearts that there can be a peace on earth and a goodwill among all men. On behalf of all of us at the Great Southwest Radio Theater Project, may I wish all of you the happiest of holidays. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. This concludes our radio show for today, but before we sign off the air, please enjoy one more song from our own GSR jazz singer, Chris Stewart, and have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas and Hanukkah season. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for joining us for this performance of the Great Southwest Radio Theater Project. And now, the GSR cast and crew in alphabetical order. From Coolidge, Arizona, Bill Alwyn. From Casa Grande, Ken Ferguson. From Coolidge, our Foley sound technician, Rod Gibson. From Casa Grande, Hayden Herbert. And Mark Herbert. Also, Jeannie Calder. From Tempe, Matt Madonna. From Florence, Faith McElvoy. From Coolidge, Danica Miller. Also from Coolidge, Keith Seaman. And Isabella Swain. From Los Angeles, California, Nathan Swain. And our GSR assistant, my wife back here, Maji Swain. From Santan Valley, Chris Stewart. From Eloy, Janie Toth. From Casa Grande, Terry Turner. From Coolidge, Norma Van Heeswick. From Casa Grande, Jenny Lee Voice. And also from Casa Grande, Kevin West. I'm your announcer and director for this performance, Ralph Swain. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you for tuning in. See you on the radio.